What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Flop. We hope all of you had a great Easter with your families. This is episode 14. We're going to talk about how to get through a slump, and we're going to just get to it kind of in detail, and so that we can help you guys out and, help ourselves out, because we all struggle with this. So I think it's going to be a really good episode. But before we get into that, I just want to refer you guys to our Teespring link down below. Go check it out if you want some cool Flop merch. And also, as always, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Triple Crown. Thank you guys very, very much for sponsoring the show. And as always, sweet shirt. And so let's get into it. Dad, how is it going?
Dude, it is going so well. And I just want to say, on behalf of myself and probably everybody else, so glad that you're back. I know you had some important things to do over the past couple of weeks. And so it is so good to see your face and hear your voice. And I am really excited to get back into this.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely no fun doing things for work. I'm always thinking about the show, and I really missed it. So I'm happy to be back, and I'm ready to get back in the groove and start making some really good content.
I agree with that. Yeah, it's going to be good. And I know I sort of sucked a little bit on making sure that I had stuff posted while you were gone, but it's just, I've never taken you for granted, but I really missed you a lot over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's fun behind the scenes, like chopping everything up, editing, and there's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, I'm happy to be back, and I'm happy to do it for us again.
I've never felt more get off my lawn than I have over the past couple of
old man.
I'm just banging on my computer. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Why is the audio volume not going down?
Exactly. So,
but anyway, glad you're back.
Oh yeah, happy to be back. So in the past couple of weeks, have you been throwing a lot of bags? Or
past couple of weeks, I've gone to a couple of blind draws. I haven't gone to a ton, but I have gone to a couple, and I've been able to practice here and there. We've had some good spurts of nice weather, so I've been able to get out in the backyard and throw, and was able to throw a little bit over the weekend. So I've been trying to get some reps in, but again, it's been a struggle. We've just had a really busy April so far. April has just been absolutely just bombastic, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, we have just been going crazy, especially on the weekends. So it's like, during the week I'm running here and there, and then on the weekends we've just been going. So so it's been tough, but I've been trying to get the reps in. So
heck yeah. I saw the bag review while I was gone, and you seem to be throwing pretty well with those alpha bags. What'd you throw, like 3-4 baggers in a row in the review?
Yeah, I did.
That's pretty good.
Textbook definition of cheater bag, dude. And I was like, I mean, whatever. Hey, it gets the job done. 3 points, if it goes in the hole. So but yeah, I was able to throw those pretty well. Actually I'd say it's a very unheard of bag. I'd never heard of it until I just saw it in my Facebook feed. So took a chance, and it was fun to throw. So I hope some people will take a chance on them.
Heck yeah. I definitely want to get my hands on some and out here in North Carolina and try them out for sure. Cause I need as much surface area as I can get, so that I can get to the hole,
Yeah. And the alpha is the width of the board. So if you just throw it straight,
it's like throwing a blanket. Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
It is. So yeah.
Noted. Heck yeah. Well, I haven't thrown in about 2 weeks. And so I think that it's a perfect time to talk about slumps. And, when you go away and you haven't thrown for a while, you come back, you're like, oh, like, I'm terrible. It's like I've never played this game. But sometimes even when you are playing and you are active, it feels like you've never played the game either. And that's what a slump is. And we've all been through it, and it's terrible. So we want to talk about, how do we get out of these slumps, and what is the way forward? So let's just go ahead and dive into it. So the first step, this is going to be cornhole slump AA. First step, we have to admit that we have a problem. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Hi everyone. My name's Zach. I am horrible at cornhole out of nowhere now for no
Yeah.
reason. Like,
I
hi
was good
Zach.
last week, but not anymore.
Yep, I don't know what to do with my life. Yeah, all that
Yeah.
stuff. So, yeah, you have to admit that things are not going, the way that you want them to. We always say like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So
Yes.
we can't just keep throwing blindly and wondering and just keep wondering why we're not performing to our standards. And thankfully in cornhole we have a lot of ways to measure our performance. You can
Yeah.
play ghost. Am I consistently beating this ghost number, whatever it is, or is my deck around consistently within this range? Or I can look at my PPR. I can look at
Hmm.
how my bag is operating or kicking when it hits the board. And
Hmm.
what's cool is this game is just very objective and it's very tangible, and we can see if we're performing well or not. So the first step is to look at it, look at yourself, be honest and humble, and see, am I moving in the right direction? What are some of the ways that you do that?
Just real quick, I want to piggyback off of what you just said, and I'm not super great at it because
Mhm.
I do have a very busy schedule. So a lot of times when I get ready to practice, I'm not in the mode where it's just like, okay, I've got 30 minutes to throw bags. I'm not worrying about setting up my phone and okay, let me go open up the deck around and let me do this. Sometimes I just need to throw them. I just throw bags on the board and then I go and I get everything ready and I do it.
Okay.
So that being said, if you do want to really truly be able to evaluate if you're in a slump, then tracking your progress is 100% the best way to do that.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing deck rounds, it doesn't have to be every practice session. Or if you're playing Ghost, again, doesn't have to be every practice session. But
No.
you should implement at least one or both of those, maybe once a week, because the best way for you, to go to a draw and then all of a sudden you're like, I don't feel like I'm throwing well. I feel like I could be in
Mhm.
a slump. The best way to track that is to look at your logged history.
Yep.
So I'm throwing my PPR. I'm practicing in deck rounds, and my PPR playing Ghost is a 7.5.
Hmm.
So I'm going to go throw Ghost. I'm going to go throw deck rounds. Wait a second. My PPR is a 6.5. And I'm talking about not over one game, because
Yep.
obviously, especially in the range that we're in, it's, you're going to have ups and downs. We're going to throw a game that's going to be lights out. And then our next game, it's going to be like, what is this game? I have no clue. So
Yeah.
you want to make sure that if you're purposefully trying to pinpoint if you're in a slump, you want
Hmm.
to maybe throw 6 or 7 games or 6 or 7 deck rounds real quick. Get the average of those, I mean, and I'm trying to be realistic, and in a busy schedule, maybe 6 or 7 is the most you're able to get.
Yeah.
Some people can get out there and just throw all day and okay, now I've got 40 deck rounds. I can see what my average is. But realistically, for us, it's we got things going on. So throw 5, 6 games, see what your PPR is. Is it matching up with what you last have tracked? Is it
Yep.
more? Is it less? If it's less, you could be in a slump. And so it's time to start making some adjustments to get out of it. If it's more, maybe you're just in your head. Maybe you're thinking you're better than you are, which that sounds negative to say, but you and I've talked about it on the show before. We're always the main character in our movie. We're
Yep.
always better than we are on paper,
That's
right?
right.
In our head, I mean, we're always better in our head than we are on paper, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
So we're like, man, I should be getting a 9.5. But really, you look at your tracked history and 7.5 is your average PPR. Then you're okay if you're throwing a 7.67 or a 7.8 or whatever.
That's right.
So yes, being able to track that, monitor that progress is the best way. If you're not plugging this information in, if you're not making the most out of the technology that we have available to us to monitor your growth, it's hard to say you're in a slump, because you're thinking in your
Hmm.
head, I'm just throwing like trash. I'm way better than this. But maybe statistically you're not. Maybe statistically you're right where you have been. And sure, you want to get better. And so work on getting better. But the only way to truly see if you're in a slump is if you can look at the numbers.
Yeah, and just really quick, for those of you that don't know, you can download an app called Scoreholio, and you can track and all of your play. You can play Ghost. There's also the ACL My Player app, which is actually a website. It's not an app that you download in the App Store, but you can do the same thing where you can track deck rounds. There's a little training menu where you can go in there. So yeah, if you're definitely missing out, if you're not using those things, it's a great way to track your progress. One thing I would like to say that I've fallen into this trap a lot, and I would really, really highly encourage you guys to not fall into this trap, is to record even when you're playing poorly. You're doing yourself a disservice if you are only playing the ghost or only doing deck rounds when you're throwing well, because that's not giving you an accurate picture of your progression. And you have to think about the long game. You have to think about, how do I play over the course of 100 deck rounds or whatever, because that's going to be a true measure of how you're actually playing. So yeah, don't lie to yourself, man. Like if you're playing poorly, document it so that you can see that progression over time. Because like we always talk about on this show, we're looking at this like a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right. And when you're recording, it's handy to record full games that you're playing with yourself. It could also be handy to record a close up of you at the board and record your throw.
Yeah.
Just you releasing, most phones have a slow motion option now. That's a great tool because you can see like every frame of what you're doing, how your fingers are responding on the bag, how your release is, what's your hand doing after 20 bags, you know what I mean? So
yep.
You're absolutely right. You definitely want to record. It's one of the greatest tools you have to see, to actually visualize what your game looks like.
That's right. Yeah. And that leads us right into step 2, identifying the problem, figuring out what is actually happening. Why am I throwing poorly? And yeah, the number one tool is recording yourself and watching yourself throw. We've said this before in previous episodes. If you're not recording yourself, like you have no idea what kind of weird things you're doing with your moving your leg out of the way of your arm and, reaching around your body crazy or, popping your elbow in a weird way to and some people have interesting throws. If you can replicate it every single time, then replicate it every single time. That's great. But if it's something that's clearly affecting your ability to do well, you want to be able to see that. And so another thing would be ask other people. Like, you're in this for the long haul and you're in this to like make friends and have a good time and to get better. So you just ask people like, hey man, like, sorry I threw poorly tonight. Like, is there anything that you saw that was messing me up, or did it look like I was, doing something? And most of the time, if you've got somebody that's, really has your best interest at heart, they'll be able to tell you like, yeah, man, like, for some reason you were like jerking your arm to the left every single time. I don't know what it was. And you can take that and then you can go back to the drawing board and try to fix it.
Right. You can also do that in not a live setting. You can have someone look at some of the videos that you've recorded and say, hey, here's a video of me throwing, 4 rounds or 5 rounds. Could you just take a look and let me and give me your advice? Is there anything that that you see that I should be working on or I should be doing differently? Because I think at this stage of the game, pretty much everyone at their local events, their local blind draws or whatever, has got that player that's either a pro or at least pro level. Yeah. So, that's where the networking and the relationships come in. And, a huge part of the draw for this game is the community. So, talk to people better than you. Ask people who are better than you what's something you can work on. I've done it a dozen times, just like I just can't seem to get this right on my release. Is my hand, and I just have them tell me, well, I think, personally, my opinion, and they're usually pretty cool about it. Nobody's a jerk, but they'll say, in my opinion, the bag looks great, but you are doing X when you release it, or I can see that your hand's doing this after you release it instead of doing, this. So, whatever it may be, just find someone better than you and don't be afraid to talk to them. Chances
Yep.
are they're a pretty cool person, um, as majority of the people are in the sport. So yeah, it's definitely a handy tool.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely reach out to people. Okay, so we've admitted we have a problem. We've identified that problem. Now, step
Yes,
3, we have to attempt to actually fix the problem, and this is where the hard
correct.
work comes in, and the humility really,
Yeah.
comes into play. So now, if it's bad, like if I am like unable to throw like 2 bags on the board or something, like I mean, I haven't been
Yeah.
in a slump like that before, but like if it got to that point, and I've been pretty low before, I'm probably gonna take a break from blind draws, and I'm
Hmm.
gonna work out that problem. It doesn't mean I'm gonna stop throwing, because obviously the more we do anything, the more we're going to develop those pathways in our brain, and we need to have that repetition, and our brain needs to sort that out subconsciously. So we need to keep
Yeah.
throwing. But I'm probably going to take a break from blind draws, and I'm just going to go to town at home, and I'm just going to
Hmm.
figure out what's going on and do whatever I have to do. I'll change my stance. I'll change my grip. I will do anything I can to start getting bags on the board and up the middle.
Absolutely. I agree with that completely. And I won't rehash it because I've talked about it in prior episodes, but not too terribly long ago, December, before you came back home for Christmas that time, I was in a huge slump and I
Mhm.
was throwing 2 bags, like not every time, but 2 bags randomly in a round would just clang off the side of the board. And so I had to
Yep.
do that very thing. Again, I won't rehash it because I've talked about it in other episodes. But yes, you have got to identify, you've got to take a break. I took 3 weeks off. I
Yep.
revamped everything. I revamped everything. My grip, the way I held the bag outside of the grip, every aspect of it. I even tried changing legs, but you've got to go back to square one. Once you've identified that you've got an issue, you've identified that you are officially in a slump. Now
Mhm.
you have got to start taking the steps to get out of it. And sometimes that does mean going back to the drawing board. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I think if it's really bad and you're like, and you just cannot figure it out, this is something that you and I talked about. We're like, look, you can't go wrong with grabbing the middle of the bag with your thumb in the middle of the bag, fingers in the middle on the backside of the bag, and
Mhm.
swinging your arm straight, opening up your hand flat, and just making sure your arm is in line with the hole and swinging
Yeah.
that bag straight. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of fancy things that people do, but you watch Matt Guy, that's what he does every single time. And he
Right.
just channel your inner Matt Guy, like get
Yeah.
laser focused, like just
Yes.
get absolutely laser focused on keeping your arm in line with the hole. And then you can move back towards, it's exactly what happened with you. You
Hmm.
you had to change everything. You had to, Matt Guy grip it, go up the middle. But then eventually, once you got that sorted out, you were able to move back toward your normal throw.
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly what I did. I went to a Matt Guy wobbly duck throw
Yep.
with the fastest bags I could find because I didn't want them to kick on me. So I just was throwing incinerators. I was throwing locos, vipers. I was throwing any fast bag I could that wasn't going to kick on me, and I
Yeah.
just threw it with that bucket grip is what we call it. But I don't know what. I guess you would call it a traditional grip or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
I was able to dial in to throwing it straight that way, and then I made the adjustments to get my grip, my butterfly grip back, and then got it dialed in, and then slump over. I started throwing pretty decent again. So
Yep.
yeah, but it took going back to square one, man. I mean, I had to clean out everything in my brain that I thought I knew and not be prideful, because that was one of the things you and I talked about. Was one thing I was always proud of was I have a super flat bag.
Hmm.
And one of the things we're going to do on this channel is we're going to start posting some helpful tips and tricks that we find along the way to help everybody out. But one of them is going to be how to throw a flat bag. That one will be coming pretty soon. But
Hmm.
I throw a flat bag. I mean, it's one of those bags that people will come up and be like, "Dude, your bag is beautiful." But that being said, doesn't always go in the hole, but it's flat as crap.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but for me, not being an excellent advanced level player, that's something I was very proud of. So I had to take a step back and I had to say, what's more important? The flat bag? Is the flat bag more important? Or is the bag going in the hole more important? Because I was throwing a flat bag when I was in that slump and clanging two perfect flat bags off the side of the board. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything, right? Right. So you have to check your pride. You have to check, everything you think in your head, and you have to start over. So yeah, it is a reality check when you get back to the lab. You've
Yeah.
really got to wipe off the board and start from scratch.
Definitely. And then last thing I'll say about this third step, like attempting to fix it when you're doing the deep work of trying to work through that slump. When you're recording yourself, I've said this to a lot of people, and really it's just for me, honestly, because I've had some wonky throws in my time playing this game. I've had some really weird looking throwing styles. I would say, honestly, if your throw doesn't look anything like the majority of like the pros and how they throw, I would recommend kind of moving toward what they're doing, because obviously they've got something right. They're the best in the world. And you may be an outlier and you may be lights out and you may be throwing over a 10-point PPR, doing something crazy, 360 blindfolded, uh, putting the bag in your shirt and flicking it forward or something. But for the most part, I think it's good to try to emulate the best in the world. And so, yeah, when you're recording yourself, just make sure that, everything looks square, everything looks straight, your arms in line with the hole. And you look like you know what you're doing, and you look like the people that know what they're doing.
Yeah, you're not trying to be dude perfect out here, kicking it off of your shin or something to get in the
Yeah,
hole. Like, you need to at
exactly.
least look comparable to what you're seeing. They're the best in the world for a reason, and it's
Mhm.
not because they have some quirky, non-traditional release that they do. It's because they have narrowed down the mechanics to a point to where it's practically like a machine.
Yep.
Like they're almost not even human at that point. They're just mechanical beings that have been programmed to throw a beanbag. So, you got to learn from the best. It's always good. There's not a kid alive walking the earth who loves and is in love with basketball that hasn't watched footage of Michael Jordan doing what he does at the
Yep.
level that he does it. We've all done it. Everybody dunked on their adjustable goal at 6 feet with their tongue hanging out of their mouth when they were little. So
Yep. That's
you
right.
want to look like the people who know what they're doing. So I agree
Mhm.
with that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's super important. Okay, and now step 4. If everything is just going absolutely horrible and there doesn't seem to be any light at the end of the tunnel, and you're going to sell all your bags and
Burn your
throw them in
boards.
the river or something,
Yeah. Mhm.
just take a break and think about the long game. Breaks can be extremely beneficial. It's a
Mhm.
mental reset. It seems so counterintuitive. I've done it before. I want to just keep throwing, keep throwing, keep throwing, but there comes a point where you're just doing the same thing over and over again, and you're getting
Yeah.
frustrated and you're getting more frustrated, and you're just existing in this loop. You need to take
Yeah.
some time off and realize that everyone has to do their time in this game. Like,
Mhm.
if you just ask around, like we were talking about earlier, ask around, talk to the best players at your blind draw, and they'll tell you like, oh yeah, I've been playing for 6 years. Oh, I've been playing for 7 years
Yeah.
or whatever. It's like, oh, like I've only been playing about a year. Like maybe I should relax a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just ask around and then take a break and think about the long game.
Mhm.
You can literally play cornhole until you're like about to die. Like, it's not a
Yeah.
physically difficult sport. Like, it could be the
Exactly.
last thing you do if you wanted it to be.
It literally could be. You're absolutely right. And taking a break absolutely is helpful at times because, we talked about taking in step, was it step 3 or step 2? We talked about taking a break from blind draws and stuff. But
Oh yeah, and 3, if you're trying to fix it, like
okay.
just yeah,
Yeah.
leave the
Okay. In
blind draw
step
alone for a minute and
3, we
practice.
talked about taking a break from blind draws and focusing on the hard work and the practice. That being said, sometimes your hard work and your practice is just not showing it either. You're just something's wrong. You don't know what it is. The best thing you can do is put everything up, walk away, focus on something else for a time. Focus
Yeah.
on shooting pool, walking, taking a hike, doing whatever, riding a bicycle, doing whatever it is that's not cornhole that you enjoy,
Yeah.
and coming back to it. Give yourself a week, give yourself 2 weeks, and
Mhm.
then come back. And what's interesting is that sometimes after you come back, you're like, oh, wait a minute, there it is. Where was that
Yep.
at? I just struggled for a month trying to do this and wasn't able to do it. And I take all this time off, and there it is. Now you may have a little rust on you, but you know how you throw, you know what your
Yep.
bag looks like. You'll notice though, you'll throw it and it'll just feel natural. It'll just feel like, oh, that's right. That feels so good, you know, and that's just your brain. I mean, the most advanced computer system in all of existence is the human brain. And
Yep.
sometimes you just have to turn it off and turn it back on.
Yeah.
And it just fixes everything. And so take that break, take that mental break, because I know me personally, I know you personally,
Mhm.
and many others that are listening to this. Sometimes you just get so angry when things aren't working that it becomes not beneficial to keep doing it,
Yep.
because the madder you get, the worse effect it's going to have on you.
That's right.
And which is why in another episode before, we talked about the mental state of the game and trying not to get angry and trying not to show that anger. If you throw a front board, don't and freak out, because you just put a lot more pressure on your next bag. Shake it
Yep.
off, move on. So sometimes getting angry and getting mad at yourself and what you're doing, you just need to take a step back, because you're not benefiting yourself at all if you're just going to consistently beat yourself up and you're going to lay in bed at night and stare at the ceiling and just stew. So
Yeah.
definitely do a reset, turn it off, turn it back on, get back after it.
Yeah. Like I would just ask yourself, like, what is the rush? Like, just
Yeah.
sit down and ask yourself, why
Yeah.
am I rushing this? Like, I can play this game for as long as I want to. I've
Mm-hmm.
got all the time in the world. We always talk about it. The people at the
Mm-hmm.
top of the game can only get so good. They can only throw 4 bags in the hole. So I've
Right.
got all the time to get to the point where I can throw all 4 bags in the hole. Like, why am I rushing? It's not worth the stress. It's not
Yeah.
worth the frustration. Look at every
Right.
single, athlete that has performed at the highest level. You always hear the commentators saying, oh, look, he's just in the zone. This looks easy for him. He's
He's
so
unconscious.
graceful.
Yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
unconscious. Exactly. He is just on a different playing field. It seems like
Mm-hmm.
nothing phases this guy right now. That's when people perform the best, when they're in that
Mm-hmm.
zen zone,
Yep.
whatever flow state, whatever you want to call it. That's
Mm-hmm.
when it happens. It's not when they're, analyzing everything and putting the weight of the world on every shot they take or every bag they
Right.
throw.
Right. You're absolutely right. So yeah, so take a breather. Take a
Yeah.
breather. You've got, like you said, you've got your entire life, unlike basketball. I mean, and you can play basketball casually, as
Yep.
long as your body allows you to do it. But, unlike those sports where there's a window of like professional, if you want to make money off of it or something, there is a window.
Yeah.
Cornhole, man, the world is your oyster. You can play as long as you can hold a bag and throw it. You can play this game,
Yep.
and you can play it at the pro level. Nobody, I mean, heck, even once you hit, 65 years old, then you can play in the pro division and the senior division. You get a whole nother
Heck yeah.
division. So it's like you can literally play the rest of your life. You don't have to be awesome tomorrow. You don't
Nope.
have to be awesome next week, because number one, the sport is just now getting to the point where it is springboarding and it is becoming massive, and more people are getting into it and all of this stuff. So we've got, the sky's the limit.
Yep.
You can literally take as long as you need to perfect to perfect this game. And you may never be pro, and that's okay because I may never be pro, but I love playing
Yep.
and I'm going to keep playing. It doesn't matter if I'm pro or not. I love the people. I love the relationships that I've made through this game. And so it's part of me now. And so, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll practice, I'll put the time in, and I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. What's the
So,
point if you don't enjoy it? I mean,
mhm,
seriously.
right.
So, the last thing that I'll leave you guys with is one of my favorite quotes from pro golfer Rory McIlroy. He's had a portion of his career where he was really, really struggling, and something that he always says, like kind of his mantra, he always says, "I want to be mentally tight and physically loose." And so you want to
Yeah.
harden your mind, and you want to get to where you have that laser focus in your mind, but physically, like physiologically, you want to be loose. You want to be relaxed. Shoulders
Mhm.
aren't tight and tense, and you're worried, and you're short arming your throw and all this stuff. You want to be relaxed physically and know and trust your preparation, and trust,
Mhm.
all the work that you've been doing over the course of however long you've been doing it, and just throw and get in that zone, get in that zen. And I promise, if you just keep playing, it's gonna click. I haven't seen it click, honestly. I'm still, way below where I want to be. But
Yeah.
I know that if I just keep playing and I just keep grinding, and I take the stress off myself too, like
Mhm.
there's no worries. Like nothing bad is going to happen if I play a bad game.
Nope.
So I need to just stop worrying about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And so just remember, as soon as it stops being fun, it stops being enjoyable.
Yep.
I think that's interchangeable, really, the fun and enjoyable. I don't know.
Mhm.
But you don't want it to ever come off as work. We've heard a million times, that if you love what you do, then you'll never work a day in your life. But it's the same thing with the sport. If you love to play the sport and you enjoy playing the sport, um, then it's just going to be easy. It's going to be easy to do. It's going to be too
Yeah.
easy. And the minute that it becomes more like, you're coming home and you're like, oh, I got to go out and throw today. I need to get this in. Or,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I guess I'll go to the draw tonight. I'm not really feeling it. And, when you get to that point, maybe it's a good time to take a break as well,
Yeah.
because it's too serious. It's too serious at that point. This needs to be something you look forward to. I know that, I get to go, I do like, typically I get to do like one draw a week, and I usually look
Mm.
really forward to it. Like, oh man, today's the day. Let's go, and I'm excited. So, but it is what it is.
No, absolutely.
So,
That's great. Well, guys, we really hope that you enjoyed this episode, and listening to us kind of hash through everything that we have personally struggled with and dealt with. Nothing
mhm,
we're talking about in this episode is something that we haven't been through. And
mhm.
I know that we will be going through this, periodically. It's a roller coaster. It's an
Yep.
emotional roller coaster. It's the game is just so crazy because it seems so easy to do. One day I'm just going to be able to throw all the bags in the hole, and then you
Yeah.
just you just keep not being able to. So it's
Right. You're
it's
right.
definitely difficult, but it's definitely worth it, and it's definitely enjoyable if you frame it in the right way, and you look at it from the right perspective.
Yeah. And just to reiterate something else we've talked about before, just remember that it's an upward grade, but it
Yep.
is not a straight line. This line is going to go, you're going to go up and you're going to go down, and you're going to go up and you're going to go down. But as long as you're trending up,
Yeah.
that's what you need to focus on. You don't need to look at it as though, and we all do it. So this is all advice for me. This is advice for you, even though we're the
Yeah,
ones saying it. I can promise you we struggle with this too.
for
You can
sure.
go to a draw, or you can go to a regional, and you can throw your brains out. And I have done this, and it made me so sad. Like, I went to this one regional and I performed so well. I ended up taking like seventh out of like
Mhm.
60, 70 people. I don't remember. It was insane. I swagged into my blind draw the next week. I was
Yeah.
like, you couldn't tell me nothing, because I thought I found it. I'm about to get in here and just turn loose.
Wreck house.
I sucked so bad that night. And I got a great partner, and I felt terrible because realistically, Had I thrown like I threw on Saturday, the Saturday before,
Yep.
we'd have won it undefeated because I got that good of a partner. And I just fell to absolute pieces.
Mm,
Absolutely. I think we ended up going like 1-2 or something like that and just
yeah.
barely skated through that first win. But point is that it's up and down. And as long as you're trending in the upward motion, you're going to be fine. So don't get too down on the downs. Just
Exactly.
remember ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
So,
If you guys are out there and you're still playing the game, I can almost promise you you're trending upwards.
yeah.
Like that you're gonna get better. You just are.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
heck yeah. Well, we really appreciate you guys listening. We're back. We're ready to just keep pumping out some great cornhole content. I'm really excited for the future. I'm really excited for everything going on. And stay tuned for the next one, guys. We'll see you.
See you later.